Hey, welcome back to my channel, Duct Tape Mechanic, and to another episode of my series, Free on Facebook. A series of videos in which I find things for free and I show you how to repair them, repurpose them, or recycle them in another manner. In this video, I got this Maytag washing machine that's stuck in the sensing mode and it won't advance to the wash mode. So if you have a Maytag, Whirlpool, or Kenmore washing machine that's showing similar symptoms, I'm going to give you the 5 main reasons that may cause this issue. So if you like this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel for more DIY and tinkering videos. So here's the washer that's in question. This is the ever so popular Maytag Centennial washing machine. I picked up quite a few of these machines, but this video is pretty much applicable to any machine that has the 6 lights followed by a pause play button. These are often called pause play machines or VMW washers, and they're made by Whirlpool, Maytag, Kenmore, Amana, Admiral. They come in all pretty much different models, and they're all pretty much the same thing. And I'm going to give you the top 5 reasons why your machine, your pause play machine, could be stuck in the sensing mode, which means that pretty much just the sensing light blinks and it won't advance to the next wash mode. And honestly, there's just a few main reasons why this happens, and the fix is relatively simple on all 5 of them, so there's no reason to panic and throw away your machine. So let's get to it. So basically, before I jump into it, when the machine is in the sensing mode, it's sensing the load that's in the tub, and it does that by an RPM sensor that's below the tub. So it's basically sensing how fast the tub spins, then it adds some water, and then it does another calibration run as well. So that gives it an indication of exactly how much of a load there is. And so the first issue, or the most common reason that this machine gets stuck in the sensing mode, is a failure of the shifter actuator, and that's below or underneath the machine. So I'm going to go ahead and tip this on his back, and I'll show you what that thing looks like and why it would fail. Alright, so with the machine on its back, we're going to go ahead and remove the 2 screws for the belt cover so we get a better look at the actuator, and it'll be easier to take it out as well. So it's just 2 5/16 screws. Right, so that's what the shifter actuator looks like, and it's just held in with 2 green screws. The one is on top right there, and the other one is hidden right there, and then it's connected right there. So we'll go ahead and take that off, and we'll take a look at it next. So here's that shifter actuator, and as I mentioned, this is the most common reason. A failed shifter actuator is the most common reason why your washing machine gets stuck in the sensing mode. And the reason is because there's so many different failure points on this part, and the obvious one being that this arm here that shifts the transmission up and down gets stuck, or gets broken off, I should say. And if it's stuck in the agitate mode, it'll never switch to the spin mode, which is needed to help the machine sense the load. So if this arm is physically broken, that'll cause it to be stuck in the sensing mode. Also, there could be a failure in the RPM sensor that's also part of this shifter actuator. And then lastly, the motor itself could fail as well. It could burn out. So those 3 reasons would cause the shifter actuator assembly to fail, and therefore cause your machine to get stuck in the sensing mode. The good thing is that this is a really simple thing to replace. It's just 2 screws and a connector, and it costs about 30 bucks to get that part. And I actually have a detailed video on how to troubleshoot a shifter actuator that's faulty as well, and I'll link that in the description. So if you think that your machine has a bad shifter, obviously you should be able to tell if it's broken, but if you need more further instructions, I can link the video as well. And let's move on to the second reason. Alright, so since I've got the machine on its back already, I'll cover the second reason why your washing machine may be stuck in the sensing mode. And after the shifter failure, the reasons I'm about to give are not in any sort of particular order, as they could one of them isn't more likely to fail than the other. just because I would say the shifter is number one because it's so prevalent because of the failure points. But the second reason is a broken drive belt. And we've already removed the belt cover earlier, so I'll just show you how to take the belt off. Obviously, if it's a broken drive belt, this thing will be either wrapped up some on the belt cover or just completely in shards. And the way to take it off is you just slide it off the transmission pulley, and then it'll come right off the motor shaft or the motor pulley, like so. It's really easy, and these things are like 10 bucks on Amazon. To put it back is pretty much just reverse, where you put it on the motor pulley first and then the transmission pulley. Alright, so the third reason why your washing machine is stuck in the sensing mode is a failed motor. Now, before you diagnose this issue, I highly recommend going into diagnostic mode and seeing what error code you get. For a failed motor, most likely you're going to get an F7 E6 error. But if you get that error, and or if you noticed some sort of burn marks on the motor windings, or if the rotor itself is difficult to turn, then most likely your motor has failed. To replace the motor, you got to remove the drive belt first, as I showed before, where you just slide it off the transmission pulley and set it aside. Then you just get a 7 or a ½ inch socket with a ratchet, and go ahead and just turn these two bolts, and that'll free up the motor. With the bolts undone, you'll be able to turn it outside and easily undo the electrical connector. That's how you free the motor. And to install it, it's just everything in reverse. For the last two causes of why your washing machine may be stuck in the sensing mode, I'm going to have to lift up the top of the washer. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to remove these 3 screws. So 1, 2, and 3. Then I'll be able to lift up the top. After you got the top lifted up, we're going to go ahead and push in these tabs right here, and that'll give us access to the control panel. Alright, so once we have access to the control panel here, we come to reason number 4 why your washing machine is stuck in the sensing mode, and that's due to a failure in the valves. Now, I do have a much more detailed video on just the valves alone, but in a nutshell I should say, these fail due to 2 main failures. The solenoid can burn out, or they could be most likely sediment stuck on the inlet side right here that doesn't allow water to come in. And water is needed in the sensing cycle because the second thing in the sensing is essentially it adds water to the tub. So with the valves being clogged, it won't be able to do that, and won't advance past that sensing. Basically, what I like to do is I like to unplug the connector here and then put my multimeter on them and see if I have resistance. They typically around 1 kilo ohms to 1.5 kilo ohms of resistance. And if you're interested in more details about that, I'll link the video in the description of this video as well. But if they're not in that range, or if they're completely showing an open circuit, then the valves need to be replaced. And to replace them is really simple. All you got to do is undo the 2 screws right here, lift up the top, and then just go ahead and probably hold on to the control panel there, but go ahead and slide this dispenser portion out, and then you'll be able to remove the valves that way. And that's another part that's only around 20 bucks or 25 bucks on Amazon. So reason number 4 is the valves. Alright, so the last and fifth reason why your machine is stuck in the sensing mode comes to us by the process of elimination, and that's a bad control board. Now, a bad control board isn't always apparent, but it can be. I've seen boards with bad capacitors and blown out relays and such, but that's not always the case. And a bad control board can have issues like it doesn't read the RPM sensor reading. So despite having a good shifter and good RPM sensor on the shifter, that doesn't mean the control board is actually reading that reading. Or it could be an issue where it's not turning on, it's not sending the signal to turn on the 120 volts to the valves, so they're not turning on due to an issue with the control board. So I would only go to the control board after you've checked out the valves, after you checked out the shifter actuator, the motor, and obviously the drive belt. So that's 5 reasons why your washing machine is stuck in the sensing mode. So if this video helped, make sure you give this video a thumbs up.